I'm turning the live stream on right now.
Yeah, so the live stream has started, so we're ready.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much. And hello, everyone. It's great to see everyone here at our second meeting for the year for the Joint Committee on the Management of Public Funds. Senator Arthur Ellis, the Senate Chair of this committee. And this meeting will have comments, reports from the Treasurer, which is written, and the Controller's Office here in person, Controller Brooke Learman, an annual review of legislative audits from local governments, and also quite a few local municipalities and one county will answer questions as far as their audit reports. I want to welcome all the members here, and I want to give all the Senate members a chance to introduce themselves and say a few words. If we can start with Senator Botto, who's here. Would you just want to say a few words? Okay, how about Senator Quarterman? You're here, welcome. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate you having us here today and look forward to a robust discussion. So thank you.
Okay, quite welcome. Now I'd love to turn it over to our House Chair, Chair Courtney Watson, to say a few words. And
Thank you.
House
Thank you,
members.
Senator Ellis. I appreciate your co-chairmanship, and I would like to mention to members of the public that may be watching, you can find all of the materials for this meeting on the Maryland General Assembly website. If you go to today's date under meetings and scroll down, you will see the Joint Committee on the Management of Public Funds meeting being held right now. And there is a PDF attached there that contain all of the meeting materials. So with that, I'd like to introduce Delegate Shetty. You just wave your hand, who's here with us today, and thank you for being here. And I'll turn it back over to Senator Ellis.
Yeah, thank you, Delegate Watson. So first on our agenda is update from the Controller's Office, and I do believe we have Controller Brooke Learman here with us, and I'd like to turn over to the Controller at this time.
Great. Hi, great to be here with you. Thank you so much, Chairman Ellis, Chairwoman Watson, and members of the committee. It's great to be here. I do have a PowerPoint, so I'm not sure if the team can pull that up. Do you guys have it? You do. Look at that. Amazing. Great. Thanks. So I thought I would give you something to look at other than just me while I go through some of the work that we are doing in the agency. I'm sure those of you who've had the pleasure of serving on this committee last year recall that I spent much of my time discussing the hiring and reorganizing taking place in our agency. I'm very happy to say that we've put together a really excellent team, and today I can instead focus on sharing the early returns of that restructuring and revitalization and on the work that we're continuing to do. Over the past year, we've begun to rebuild the agency, including upgrading much of our aging infrastructure. We've initiated robust public engagement strategies to make the office more accessible to Marylanders and more. Today, I'll be focusing my testimony on the work our agency has done to realize our core priorities over the last year, as well as a discussion of our plans moving forward. But before I begin, I want to just reiterate my commitment to work hand in hand with the General Assembly and the Moore-Miller administration to execute our shared goals of ensuring all Marylanders can reach their full potential. And I want to thank you for the support that you have given me and this agency through the budget over the last several years. So thank you. Next slide. So as you can see, our newly restructured agency is separated into several operational departments, each of which is overseen by a deputy comptroller, or in the case of the IT department, our CIO, the agency's first CIO. This structure provides clear lines of decision-making and responsibility and leads to greater accountability. I've also provided an updated org chart as an addendum to this testimony, so you have that as well. Next slide. Here at the Office of the Comptroller, we have a vision statement, and it is broad and big, but we also have 3 robust core priorities to help us realize that vision statement. And these core priorities serve as guiding principles for our agency, and they're really, they both transmit to the public and to members of our 1,200-person agency the work that we are committed to doing. So our first priority is to implement critical agency-wide improvements to help state government work better. That includes the team and the tools, right? It includes our major modernization efforts I'll be discussing, like Maryland Tax Connect. It also includes our team members, and I'm really proud that we have brought our vacancy rate as low as it is, and look forward to continuing our very robust HR efforts. Our second priority is ensuring that the resources of the office reach the people of Maryland, in a nutshell. Part of this is accomplished through programs like unclaimed property, but this also means that we always need to have a proactive public engagement strategy. We're excited about Direct File, one of our new initiatives, but if no one knows about it, then it doesn't matter that we're releasing this big upgrade. We have to have a way to reach people, both by sharing information with you, our General Assembly partners, so that you can share it with your constituents, also sharing it with our local government partners. I know some of you are on today, and the public writ large. We also, our third core priority is really to make sure that Maryland is well positioned for responsible long-term economic growth and success. This is a broad one, and everything from our Bureau of Revenue estimates to the Board of Public Works to the work we do on the State Retirement and Pension Board all falls in, I think, to this long-term economic success. Next slide. We've made great progress over the past year, but many of the positive changes simply would not have been possible without your support and the support of the governor and the secretary of DBM. As you can see, with the resources allocated in the FY25 budget, we've begun to be able to update our infrastructure, reduce vacancies, and begin converting many of our long-term contractual workers to permanent positions. So just a note about this slide, in FY25, we added new PINs. Many of them, 26.8, were contractual to 21 permanent position conversions in our taxpayer services division. So this is it's not a one-to-one for contractual to PINs. So the 26.8 contractual folks turned into 21 PINs, and then we lose that rest of the contractual dollars. But it's really important to us to have those PINs. Just a preview is that we are going to be asking for additional PIN conversions this year, but we're going to be asking for it on a one-to-one basis because we really can't afford to lose those positions. We also received money through the dedicated purpose account for cybersecurity related infrastructure, which is sorely needed and will help us stay in compliance with our IRS requirements, and funding for upgrades to critical equipment at the motor fuel lab. Sorry, next slide. I stopped being able to see the slides. I don't know why. I must have hit something. Oh, there it is. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about now is one of our biggest initiatives. This was our Maryland Tax Connect platform. So I think you've all heard me say that when I came in, we're operating what I believe to be the oldest state tax processing system in the nation. It was still on COBOL, and it's on a mainframe. So our team members are like on green screens. Over the past year, we have released several tax types. We've moved them and released them from that old system into our new Maryland Tax Connect system. And I want to shout out all of our comptroller team members who are critical to our agency and the state of Maryland and helping make this happen. So this is one of the key functions of our agency, of course. This public-facing portal that we have, that Maryland Tax Connect, allows taxpayers to file returns, make online payments, retrieve tax information, and filing history and much more. We are sharing much more information than we've ever shared before with businesses and taxpayers through Maryland Tax Connect. And to be honest, I think sometimes it's a little jarring and confusing, but we're trying to do better to make sure that people understand it. So earlier this year, we released our Maryland Tax Connect for sales and use, corporate income, withholding, and cannabis taxes. This was a major change. To ease deployment, we learned quickly that people needed more training and more hand-holding and more help than we anticipated, I'll be honest. So we instituted as soon as we released it and realized that the level of training that we'd provided and the videos that we had done were not enough. We turned around and we set up a vigorous outreach and education program through the money that we had, which was $0. So we instituted webinars. We started doing twice-a-week webinars for thousands of people, thousands of business owners logged on. We uploaded additional video tutorials and user guides. We also set up an appointment system. So still today, you can go to Maryland Tax Connect, and rather than calling and not getting through, you can set up an appointment, and then we will walk you through your system. We'll explain things to you and make sure you have all the codes you need to get logged in. So we learned a lot from the big February release. And when we released our alcohol taxes in August, we both sent numerous emails to tell them it was coming. We held numerous trainings before it launched, and then we did trainings after it and continue to have our call center. For December 2024, we'll be doing similar things, doing outreach to those tobacco entities that need it. So now we're looking forward to what will be our biggest release, which is personal income tax. It's essential that we launch this, to launch something this large that will affect this number of people. We need to either do it well before, sort of fall of 2025, well before 2026 tax season, or after 2026 tax season. Our goal is to get it out in fall of 2025. And to do that and to make sure that we can have the team that we need to answer the calls that are going to come in, to make sure that we can alert people this is happening. We are asking for FY26 funding to have additional agents at our call center and external call center, and to do outreach about this product. Sort of next slide. But we're really excited about it. And over the long term, it's going to be much better. And also, our COBOL system is about to fail. Other modernization efforts include we have about 65 IT projects going on right now, but include our unclaimed property. We will be releasing a brand new unclaimed property system next summer. So we're very excited about that. I think we are somewhere in the 40s in the number of states that have already done it. So we are playing catch up, but we'll make sure that the system goes much faster, so you can get your money more quickly. And we will even be able to proactively reach out to people to tell them they have money waiting to be claimed. We also implemented the BRFA requirements from the BRFA that just happened, the FY25 BRFA. We are also moving we are implementing a CRM. So currently all of our appeals, around 5,700 active ones, are in paper. And we are moving all of those over the next year into our online brand new CRM, customer relationship management system. So we're really excited about that CRM, which will also launch. That will be part, like phase 2 of our CRM, hearings and appeals. We're about to launch so that it will be the back end of our new website that will be releasing early next year. That will have more information in an easier to use way, mobile friendly. Our current website is not mobile friendly for taxpayers and Marylanders. Next slide. So unfortunately, despite many of the positive changes that we've made over the past year, one area that we are really still struggling in is our taxpayer services division. This is the division that oversees our call centers and branch offices and handles the bulk of our customer service operations. We've continued to see a sharp uptick in demand for services. And while we've been working hard to handle this uptick with our current resources, for many services, the division was never staffed to meet the initial demand, let alone the incredible increase in volume. Just to give an idea of the volume we're dealing with, this year has already seen more than 1.6 million calls into our call centers, an increase of more than 500,000 from the same period last year. Now, of course, some of that had to do with Maryland Tax Connect, which led to a record spike in call volume. But people continue to be unable to get into our call queue. And so we continue to be able to need to supplement the folks that we have on the phones. We've also seen an unprecedented number of emails coming in and walk-ins who are folks who are walking into our offices without appointments. All of these walk-ins, emails, and calls are handled by the same people. It's not like we have a dedicated email team and a dedicated in-person team. So they're all handled by the same folks, and we just can't keep up. And it is frustrating to me, and I'm sure frustrating to you, and it's hard on all of our agents because by the time people reach us, they're very frustrated and very angry. Next slide. So as we talk about tax collection, it's also important to talk about the tax gap. The tax gap consists of taxes that are owed but unpaid. And that includes both the known tax gap and the unknown. Known is taxes we know are owed but are unpaid, and unknown are taxes that are owed but that we haven't even yet identified as unpaid. So closing that tax gap is one of our primary goals. Unfortunately, when you compare Maryland's compliance footprint to other comparable states, you can see that it is significantly smaller. Fewer personnel means less taxpayer outreach, fewer audits, and a result, we have seen an erosion of voluntary compliance with our tax laws. So next slide. So why does that matter? Well, in Maryland, this represents billions of dollars in uncollected revenue, as well as an unfair playing field for many businesses and individuals. To combat this, our office has proposed an ambitious plan to augment our compliance division. This means expanding enforcement, both through additional personnel and improved technology, but it's just as important to increase taxpayer education to assist taxpayers in understanding their obligations from the get-go, so we don't have to get that money by auditing them. So while implementing this plan will require additional resources, as you can see here, it will also directly produce more assessments and in turn more revenue through our audit and collections processes. So we believe that by investing in people and technology, we will generate additional revenue and create a more equitable tax landscape in Maryland. Next slide. In preparation for our FY26 budget requests, I've worked closely with our leadership team to identify our most urgent needs. We are looking to build on our past successes and continue modernizing the Comptroller of Maryland, while also addressing critical staffing needs in our customer service division. So let's see, these are our top 4 areas that we are really focused on. Right-sizing our customer service division, which is significantly below adequate staffing levels, even with nearly all of our PINs filled. Launching an outreach and education plans for Maryland Tax Connect and IRS Direct File to ensure smooth deployment and to help taxpayers ensure they get their EITC. We want to continue investment to improve our IT and cybersecurity infrastructure. And of course, we want to execute the Moore Miller's administration's clear directive and our shared priority to move long-term contractual employees into permanent PIN positions. So final slide. Oh yes, these are our 4, a little bit more information about all 4. We can go to the next slide. That's it. Thank you, Chair Watson, Chair Ellis, members of this committee for the mutual commitment that we share to the taxpayers of Maryland and all Maryland residents. I am so grateful to be able to be here with you today and to discuss the ways that we are working to strengthen our agency, and that means really strengthening the state over the long term. I appreciate your time and all of your support, and please know that my team and I are happy to answer any questions that you have now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Controller Learman, and appreciate the good work you're doing in a very difficult job. I just want to open up the floor for questions from members. Chair Watson.
Thank you. It's amazing how much progress that you've made, Comptroller.
Thanks.
But it's also kind of sobering how much more we have to do. And but we're in a lot better place than we were this time last year. And I think that's very clear from your presentation. So we thank you for that. I was curious, and if you don't have this answer or this information here now, that's fine. Maybe you can get it to us. But I was wondering about the cannabis tax and how that has come in versus what we thought. Do you have that information? If not, you can provide it later.
Sure, I can tell you what's come in. So we actually do a release every quarter, so that there is transparency around it, because I know it's of great interest to folks. So if you go to marylandtaxes.gov every quarter, you'll be able to see our cannabis, or marylandtax.gov/cannabis. You'll be able to see, we put out sort of a one-pager about all of what's come in and where it's going. My recollection is that in the first year, which was a fiscal year, right, last July 1st through this June 30th, we collected over $65 million in taxes. And that's interesting. The piece of that's interesting to me, and actually I don't remember off the top of my head how it compares to what we thought we were going to collect. But the piece that's interesting to me that is unexplained is in that fourth quarter of the fiscal year, we doubled what we had been collecting in the previous, each of the previous quarters. And I did reach out to MCA to get their ideas, but it was interesting and will be interesting. Our next, the quarter that just ended from July 1st to September 30th, they all submit their sales and use taxes in October. So then in November, we will release the next report. So we'll see if that number holds up, or if we go back to sort of where we were previously for previous quarters. And I just don't know. But we are tracking those trends. And it was, again, around $65 million in revenue in the first fiscal year.
Okay. And I can't remember either what the projection was, but it would be good if you guys can send that over when you get a second.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Chair Watson. So, Control, I have a question as far as with the number of calls that are unanswered calls, folks are just calling about their taxes.
Yep.
What usually, I know you inherited that problem, you're working hard to fix that problem. What do people do when they cannot reach the agency about their tax? I know you have offices in all the counties.
Yep.
Was that kind of situation, the workload, people walk in?
I mean, it's a really good question. And this is why it's so frustrating to me that this is where we are. People, when they call us, it's because they have a real question and a real need usually. And so they either call us repeatedly, right? Just keep calling. They wait on hold. If they get into the queue, they can wait on hold, right? And so then maybe they'll be on hold for 45 minutes and they get in and we take their call. They email us, they walk in, they try to make an appointment, or they just walk into an office, or they call you guys. Right? They say, hey, I can't get through the comptroller's office. Like, I don't know what to do in this situation. And then you send them to Matt. From now on, you'll send them to Matt Dudzik or to me or to Rihanna or someone on our team. And then we step in and see what's going on. And, we don't want you to have to worry about that. We don't want people to have to, reach out to you all. We want to be able to get those calls, to answer those calls. But the truth of the matter is that we just don't have the people to answer the calls. And we are at, probably the lowest vacancy rate in this agency in the past 15 years. I think the last time I checked, we were a little under 5%. And so it's not that we're not filling pins. We're filling pins, but we need so many more to get to an acceptable call rate. That's not the only way to solve this, though. The other things that we are looking at, so sort of a multi-pronged approach, is one, we need more bodies. Like, we need more people answering the phone, answering emails, and being able to take those walk-in appointments. Two, we need to improve our technology so people can self-help more. So for instance, when we launch Maryland Tax Connect for individuals, while initially it will lead to a big spike in call volume, over the long term, what we will see is fewer calls, we believe, because you can get so much more information from the Maryland Tax Connect portal than you can right now. If you try to look in and see what's happening with your taxes, you can't get anything. The third thing is that we are implementing the first ever CRM in the agency, this customer relation management tool. Right now, we're answering emails out of an inbox, right? It's like an Outlook inbox. There's no way to track. So you could email us 10 times and we might send you 10 responses, which is a total waste of time. Then you might be calling us 3 or 4 times and emailing us and coming in, and we're trying to respond to all of them, right? So this CRM will take all of those different modes of communication and put them through one system, so that when we go in to answer it, we can see, oh, this person's emailed 5 times, but it's all one person in one file. So as we transition to that CRM, it will provide exponentially more efficiency for our team members and for the public. People will even be able to create a username and password for that CRM so they can follow what's happening with their request. So there are multiple ways that we are trying to meet the need. I know some of you have had folks call in about pass-through entity taxes as well. When the pass-through entity tax was passed, when we passed it in, I don't remember, 2019 or 2020, there was no way for the old systems in the Office of the Comptroller to compute them. And so as a result, everything was being done manually. So we, over the past year, have manually built a system, a workaround on our computer systems to process these PTEs in a more efficient way so that not every single piece of it is manual. We also just are releasing this month a way to pay PTE taxes online, which has never existed before. We held a webinar with over 700 CPAs in August to walk them through all of our changes, so that we could keep up with our partners in the tax world as well and let them know that we are working on these challenges that they've identified and that you've identified for us. So that's sort of some of the range of what we're working on and trying to meet people where they are, because look, I don't want people to not be able to get through. I want government to work for them. And so we're trying to think big and be more efficient to meet their needs.
Yeah, thank you for that, detailed answer. Appreciate it. And if there's anything that we can do to make sure that you get all the help you need from Maryland General Assembly, please reach out to me, reach out to Chair Watson and members, and we will make sure that we do everything in our powers to make sure our constituents are taken care of. So thank you so much, Controller, and appreciate you being here and the great job you're doing in improving, modernizing the Office of the Controller.
Thank you all. I appreciate your support and your work.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to receive an update on the activities of the local government audit report by Mr. Robert Wells, Audit Manager, and Mr. Thomas Sides, Senior Auditor of the Office of Legislative Audits. So I'm not sure who will be going first or just one presenter. If you could identify yourself, please.
Sure. I'll be speaking. My name is Robert Wells. Good afternoon, co-chairs and other members of the committee. Also on the call with me today is Tom Sides, a senior auditor, who is also available to assist if the committee members have any questions. I don't have a PowerPoint, so I apologize if you have to look at my face. Today, I will present the results of a review of the audit reports submitted by each local government for the year ended June 30th, 2023, which are summarized in our audit report entitled Review of Local Government Audit Reports dated August 26, 2024. For the 206 audit reports due, we found the local governments have generally complied with generally accepted accounting principles and auditing standards. Additionally, local governments generally appeared to be in good financial condition at that time. Our presentation will briefly address the following areas: an overview of the local government auditing process, problems disclosed by our review, follow-up actions taken on the problems, and our concluding comments. Generally, each county, incorporated city or town, and taxing district located in Maryland is required by law to have an annual audit. By law, each local government is required to have its financial statements audited by an independent certified public accountant in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. Furthermore, the law requires that the financial statements be presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and that the results of the audits be submitted to our office. Most local governments must file their reports on or before October 31st for the preceding fiscal year ended June 30th. However, local governments whose populations exceed 400,000 in certain other counties must file on or before December 31st of each year. In addition, extensions may be granted to local governments for valid reasons. By law, certain small local governments may request a waiver of the annual filing requirement and instead only have an audit once every 4 years. 15 local governments requested and were granted waivers of the annual filing requirement for fiscal year 2023. In order to qualify for a waiver, a local government must have revenues of less than $250,000 in each of the prior 4 fiscal years. As provided for under the law, we have issued audit guidelines that address the basic requirements that must be met by the local governments and their independent auditors. However, the independent auditors determine the specific procedures necessary in each audit. The guidelines are intended to help ensure the minimum acceptable level of quality is maintained for audits and financial reports of the local governments. OLA performs a desk review of each audit report to identify areas of non-compliance by using a quality control checklist. For example, we generally determine whether the auditor's report was presented in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, whether the local government's financial statements were presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and whether financial statement disclosures were adequate. Our desk review also includes a review to identify non-compliance with certain state laws, such as the requirement that all deposits held in the bank by local governments be insured or otherwise collateralized. Additionally, our review includes a basic financial analysis of each local government. This analysis includes a review of various financial trends and ratios to provide some insight regarding potential financial problems at the local government level. Upon completion of each year's review, we prepare a report summarizing areas of non-compliance with the audit guidelines or with state law. In addition, when applicable, our report discloses potential financial problems at the local government level, such as a deficit fund balance and unfavorable trends and ratios. The summary report is submitted to the Comptroller of Maryland and the Executive Director of the Department of Legislative Services, as required by law, as well as other interested parties. As reflected on Exhibit A, page 1, most local governments have substantially complied with standards over the past several years. For the fiscal year ended June 30, 2023, 206 reports were due from local governments. Our review disclosed that 45 local governments had reports that contained areas of non-compliance with the audit guidelines. These areas of non-compliance were not such an extent so as to cast doubt on the reliability of the underlying financial statements. The number of local governments with reports that contained areas of non-compliance slightly increased from 37 in 2022. In addition, our review disclosed areas of non-compliance with state law for 13 local governments that had unsecured cash deposits. Additionally, our review disclosed 1 local government with a potential financial problem during fiscal year 2023. See Exhibit A, page 2, for a summary of these areas and problems over the past several years. Some local governments have had more than one area of non-compliance. The more significant and frequent problems disclosed by our review were as follows. Some local governments did not timely file an audit report as required or failed to do so. As of April 30, 2024, 26 local governments were delinquent in filing 1 or more audit reports as required by the local government article. Furthermore, 24 local governments submitted 27 audit reports after the filing date required by law. As noted by the asterisks in the chart included in this presentation, 13 local governments subsequently submitted an audit report after the April 30, 2024 cutoff as of the date of our audit report, and more have submitted since. For example, I think Rock Hall, who I believe is on the call, has submitted one. I believe the town of Hyattsville has also submitted one. We also noted the auditor's reports for 3 local governments were not presented in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. Furthermore, the auditor's report for 1 local government contained a disclaimer of opinion over the local government as a whole. Specifically, the auditors for the town of Princess Anne's fiscal year 2022 financial statements could not provide an opinion because the auditor was unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence in order to express an opinion on the financial statements. While the submission of the audit report satisfies the technical requirement of the law, the inability to express an opinion diminishes the value of the audit because the financial statements may not be able to be relied upon. The same area of non-compliance was noted in regards to the town's fiscal year 2021 financial statements. Financial statements submitted by 17 local governments did not present all required statements, or their presentation was inappropriate. Financial statements for 3 local governments lacked adequate disclosures in statements and/or accompanying notes. We also noted that 13 local governments had unsecured cash deposits as of June 30, 2023. Finally, 1 local government with a potential financial problem was identified. Specifically, the auditor's report for the Upper Potomac River Commission Waste Treatment Plant Fund referenced the fund's notes to the financial statements, describing an uncertainty regarding the fund's ability to continue as a going concern. The notes to the fund's financial statement stated that the fund's management is in the process of addressing how it will fulfill the fund's obligations given its economic dependence on a private corporation. And I believe a work group has been established regarding this issue. In order to follow up on the issues identified, a letter describing areas of noncompliance with the audit guidelines noted during the review was sent to each local government and its independent auditor. The letters requested that the matters be examined to avoid a recurrence in subsequent audits. The 2 local governments that failed to file audit reports for fiscal years 2021 through 2023 were reported to the Executive Director of the Department of Legislative Services. If these reports are not filed, the Comptroller of Maryland, acting upon the advice of the Executive Director, is authorized by law to discontinue the payment of all funds, grants, or state aid to which the local governments are entitled. For areas of noncompliance with state law pertaining to unsecured cash deposits, our office requested applicable local governments to provide written descriptions of the actions to be taken to eliminate the conditions when appropriate. We reviewed and evaluated the responses to these requests received to date and found the indicated actions sufficient. Additionally, as requested by the committee, when letters were sent to the local governments regarding noncompliance with state laws, copies of the letters were also sent to the appropriate members of the Maryland General Assembly. In summary, OLA functions as an oversight capacity by issuing audit guidelines, reviewing local government audit reports for compliance with standards and regulations, and notifying local governments and their auditors of any deficiencies noted. We believe that these efforts have helped improve the quality of the audits and have promoted fiscal accountability among local governments in Maryland. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Any questions from committee members for Mr. Wells? Okay. I have a couple questions, if you may. So you mentioned one municipality technically met the condition of the law by turn report in, audit report in, but it was not adequate as far as there were deficiencies in the audit report. Could you summarize that again for us, really?
Yes, that was Princess Anne, and there was basically a disclaimer of opinion. And I believe they're on the call today and could probably speak further to it, but there was a disclaimer of opinion in fiscal year 2021, 2022. I think subsequently they have submitted their 23 report, which was done by another CPA firm. And there was also a disclaimer of opinion issued. So essentially what happened, I believe, was there was a lot of turnover within the town, and there was difficulties with the auditors getting explanations and their questions answered. So essentially they couldn't provide an opinion because they didn't have, the available appropriate audit evidence in order to express an opinion on the financial statements.
Yeah. So
that will go forward until they work with the CPA firm, I believe, to establish appropriate procedures, make sure that, they have the sufficient personnel to address the audit,
right,
and that sort of thing.
Right. So in, I guess, layperson's term, they've received like an incomplete. They did not really complete the requirements of the law. But there is nothing that we could do because they met the letter of the law. So my question is, and you can reach back to us offline if you don't have the recommendation, but should we maybe amend that law to make it such consequences where the report has to be done and it has to be sufficient instead of having deficiencies?
Tom, you can chime in if you have any opinion on it. I don't know that we could do that or that could be done. Disclaimer opinions do happen amongst the course of audits. It's just a matter of addressing them going forward. So I don't know that there would be anything that we could hard fast say like, no, this year's disclaimer of opinion is unacceptable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I'll follow up with you with that a little later.
Sure.
And one last question. So we have individuals, I call them whistleblowers, who write us to the committee about suspected fraudulent activities in their jurisdictions, and some of these are actually council members. Is there any mechanism set up to deal with those complaints that come in to us? The law allows it? Is there an avenue for us to deal with that as far as?
I believe last year, for example, I don't know if there was whistleblower allegations or not, but regarding the city of Sea Pleasant, I think there was budget language that was actually established that required them to get some sort of forensic audit, I believe. I think it was actually due at the beginning of this year, but I don't know if it's been completed yet. So that would be one mechanism.
Okay.
Our
And
office go ahead.
And that provision is there for any municipality or agency that we have.
I believe that was written specifically into the budget bill for Sea Pleasant.
Okay. All right. So if you could follow up with us also with this, maybe what we can establish, whether by law or procedures going forward.
Sure.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Chair Ellis,
Yes.
just to follow up to that. We did receive something, I remember, but do we pass that on to the auditors? Does the auditor receive that also?
Are you talking about Sea Pleasant?
Is that the one you're talking about, Senator Ellis?
Well, I think it's another jurisdiction, and
Yeah.
Ms. McDonald might know. I don't want to say the name without being
Right.
certain.
maybe
Yeah,
staff-
I don't think Sea Pleasance has been completed yet. But I haven't followed up in maybe a month or two. If it's a different one, I don't think we've received anything on it. As
Yeah.
far as the Sea Pleasance forensic audit, our mothership Department of Legislative Services was kind of taking the lead on that, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I can follow up with the exact town a little later.
Yeah, if we could forward them what we received.
Okay.
Is that appropriate,
Sure.
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yeah, we'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, that's pretty much all my questions. Any more questions, Madam Chair, or other members of the committee? Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Wells, and appreciate your presentation. And just we'll move now into the explanation of untimely audit reports from our different municipalities. And if you could identify which individual will take the lead. With Dorchester County, we have Mr. Lenny Pfeiffer, Council President, Jerry Jones, County Manager, and Karen Tolley, Ms. Karen Tolley, Finance Director. So could you identify who would be?
Thank you, Chair Ellis. My name is Lenny Pfeffer, President of the County Council. I'll be taking the lead in this discussion, sir.
Okay, great.
So
thank you, sir.
I thank you very much, as well as Chair Watson and all the members of the committee for letting us come before you today to explain what's going on up to now. Last year, we came before you and gave you an explanation of some of the reasons why we are in the situation that we're in. And we want to give you a little update on what's going on now. So as of today, we've had fiscal 21 has been completed, been posted to our website. That is behind us. Fiscal 22 The single audit is being completed. We're waiting for a couple more things there so they can complete that, but we're getting word from our auditor, which is our independent auditor, UHY, that should be done right before Thanksgiving. So we're hoping to be able to put fiscal year 22 behind us right before Thanksgiving. Then unexpectedly, we got a notification from our company, UHY, that they're short on people and they'll no longer be able to assist Dorchester County. So we are in the process now of putting an RFP together to find a new audit firm to carry us on for the next 5 years, fiscal 23 through 27. But I can report that we've been hiring extra contractors, as well as our staff has been putting in extreme extra time for us to bring us to the point where the unified financial reports up through fiscal 23 are all completed, so that once the new independent auditing firm comes on board, that we'll be able to present all the data to them in a timely fashion. This unfortunately goes back to well before my time, even as an elected official, that we're finding this decades of problems within our finance department, and the turnover of county managers, turnover of old financial officers. Again, I take full responsibility for what's going on, but we're just trying to bring this county up current and to make sure that we have the best available financial practices going forward with here. And we greatly appreciate this committee hearing from us each year to allow us to explain this. I can assure you that being the president of this council, this is my #1 priority, as well as the other 4 council members. We have told all of our key staff, our county manager, our finance director, and all of our department heads, getting this behind us and done is our #1 priority. I know I run into the governor on a semi-regular basis, as well as the comptroller. I always get them aside and I try to bring them up to date. Our finance director has been on regular discussions with Trevor Owens at the Office of Legislative Services to make sure that Trevor knows what's going on. We want to be available to you and your committee for any questions you may have at any time. And at this time, sir, I'll open it up to you and your members if you have any questions for me or my staff.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Any questions from members? So, so you're the council president, sir, and so
Yes, sir.
is there a county executive in Dorchester
No,
County?
sir. We're a charter government, but we do not have a county executive. So I act as the highest executive officer, sir.
Okay, interesting. Okay,
Our
great.
council acts as both the legislative side and the executive side. So, yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And so you mentioned a new order will be coming on. So will the old order complete the work for the years prior before they leave? Is there a
So
commitment?
fiscal 21, they have completed fiscal 21 for us, and they're going to complete fiscal 22 for us. After that point, we'll be seeking, we're preparing an RFP right now to look for accounting services, which is becoming harder and harder to find. But we'll be putting an RFP out to bring us for 23 through 27. So we have somebody in place. So I really feel that by finding a new firm, again, because they've been somewhat of the holdback for us as well. Our staff has been working to have all the data that they need in a well-packaged format. But just like the comptroller will say, she's having a hard time finding people. We are at the county side, but apparently the audit firm is running behind and they're short on people, which don't allow us to have the kind of attention and service that they want to give us. So that's why we're looking for a new firm to start 23 through 27.
Okay, got it. Well, thank you for that answer.
Sure.
So any additional questions from committee members? Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. President and team.
Thank you very much,
We can
sir.
do to work with you to make sure that you get in compliance or reach out to us, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you so
We
much, sir.
serve the constituents like we do, and so we want to make sure that you're continue able to take good care of your constituents and your residents.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to our town of Barclay and Miss
Hi,
Virginia
can you hear me?
Stubbers, town manager. Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
hear me?
Loud and
Oh,
clear.
okay. I'm on the road. I'm sorry, I chimed in late.
Okay.
I work for the town of Barkley as the town
Yeah.
manager.
I hope you're pulled over and
I am.
be safe.
I am.
Yeah.
I can't do two things at once.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We want you to be safe on the road.
Anyway, we're a very small town on the Eastern Shore. And actually I took a year off and I wasn't in the office last year. But anyway, I just spoke to our accountants, Langford and Johnson and Tall out of Delaware. And they are finishing up the FY22. It will be submitted by December 31st, and then when they will start on the 23. So I've gotten her all the necessary paperwork, and you know, like I say, they'll let me know when it's ready.
Okay. Great. And thank you for your testimony. Is that it?
Thank you. Yes, sir. Like I say, we're a very small town. We are reaching out for grant money. We don't have a town hall. So we've hired an agency which will finish the ARPA funds up with that to get maybe get us some grant money to build a town hall. We have to meet at one of the businesses right now. So but we're very small. We have 3 commissioners and they're involved. But I do most of the paperwork for the finance and they sign off on the checks.
Yeah, being a small town, are you outside the limit to have to not have that annual audit? Or
well, I don't know. I know our CPA just said she was going to apply for an exemption. I think we have an audit like every 5 years.
okay.
But we're only like 150 people.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's 200.
So, but we still go through it the same process as a large town would.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Let me get some question input there. Tom Sides?
Yes, Senator Ellis. Tom Sides, Office of Legislative Audits. I can answer your question for the town of Barclay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
They would qualify for a waiver of the audit requirement. But we wouldn't be able to grant the waiver until they've submitted at least the fiscal 22 overdue audit.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And so that might take some of the pressure off of you in a small town.
Yes, I think that's the plan anyway, to have it complete within the next month or two. And then she will our CPA will apply for a waiver, she said, or exemption.
Okay.
So thank you.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. And reach out to us if you need any assistance, will you please?
Thank you so much. Like I say, I'm kind of the only person in the office, so sometimes I do need a helping hand, but thank you.
Great. You're quite welcome, and wish you all the best, and drive safe, please.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, we'll move on to the town of Forest Heights. Mayor Troy Lilly and Treasurer Todd Frankenfield. I'm not sure who will do the presentation.
Hey, Chair Ellis. My name's Todd Frankenfield. I'm with Alta CPA Group. I can speak for the town if the mayor's chooses to chime in after. We've just recently wrapped up our 22 audit, and our auditor is promising to start the 23 audit immediately thereafter. We're anticipating it's done by the first of the year, and then plan to wrap up 24 in the first quarter of 25.
Okay, so you're saying so what's your position with the town, Mr. Frankenfield?
I'm the treasurer.
The treasurer.
And I work for a CPA firm, Alta CPA Group, that the town hired to augment their accounting function and catch up their prior audits.
Okay, I see. And so you said the 22 audit will be done in December. Is it?
22 is done,
Oh,
and
it's
we
finished.
plan to have 23 done in December.
Yeah. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, is that it for your testimony, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from members? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Frank. I appreciate you being here. We'll move to the town of Hyattsville. Ronald Brooks, Mr. Brooks, City Treasurer.
Good afternoon, Chairman Ellis and Watson and members of the committee. As mentioned, my name is Ron Brooks, and I am the treasurer for the city of Hyattsville. I do like to take the opportunity, though, to also introduce our city administrator, who was not on the first meeting of this committee that I attended a little bit ago. Tracy Douglas, who is the city administrator, is also online as well. So I just wanted to introduce City Administrator Douglas. So I don't know if she would like to make a comment or two.
No, but I do, so good afternoon, distinguished members, Chairman Ellis and distinguished members. No, I would just like to say that we are working hard on our audits, and Ron will give you an update on where we are. But we're making some really good progress with 23 nearing completion. So I'll turn it back over to Ron, and he can go through what's happened and where we are.
Thank you. So in lieu of time, so just a quick background real quick. The city administrator and I came on board with the city of Hyattsville somewhere between 2013 and 14, respectively. When we first came on board with the city of Hyattsville, was somewhere between 4 and 5 audits behind. And typically, in my history, my career, is typically difficult to get more than one audit and completed it in one fiscal year. And so that was the starting point of the challenges, being 4 to 5 years behind back at that time. Recently, we just completed the FY22 audit that was filed this month. The FY23 audit has been that's been in the works, and I anticipate completing that and getting that filed by December 31st of this calendar year. And I anticipate starting the FY24 somewhere between the end of November, and looking forward to getting that completed and filed within the first quarter of calendar year 2025. Beyond that, with the current CPA firm that we're using, we contracted with this firm back at the beginning of 2023. At the end of 2022, the auditor of record at the time was Coyne Resnick, and I'm going to kind of mirror some of what the officials from Dorchester County was talking about. At the end of 2023, we'd gotten a notification from Coyne Resnick that they were no longer be supporting or have a local government arm doing local government audits. And so we had to reach out quickly on an emergency basis and bring on another CPA firm. Again, kind of mirroring their concerns. There was another CPA firm that we were using when we were trying to do some back-to-back audits, and I can't think of the name of that particular firm. But it appears there seems to be a number of the, not even just small firms, but the mid-sized CPA firms are getting out of the work of doing local government audits. And so that seems to be a challenge. We are going to be doing an RFP sometime between now and the end of next month, though, to put out and looking for another CPA. I think that's important for us going forward to do 24 and to do 25 and 26. The current CPA firm that we're using now is actually under contract with a number of local small municipalities in our general region here. So I can see that firm also being somewhat inundated with a lot of work. And so I think it's going to be in our best interest going forward beyond 24 to reach out and hopefully find another CPA firm that can do 25, 26, and 27. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you're quite welcome. And so, my district does not cover Hyattsville, but I get so many letters from some of your constituents about concerns about the finances. I'm like, oh my goodness. And a lot of them are detailed letters and long, thoughtful letters. And so I'll try to send them to the senator representing that district also. but in this role, we just want to make sure that we work with you. And generally, well, let me open up for questions from any members first. Before I have one question. So any members have any questions for Hyattsville? Okay, so no questions from our members. So being a CPA myself for going on almost over 30 years, people always say they can't find, and because what companies and governments have done is go to the same well for talent. And they do not go out to a lot of Black, Latino, Asian-owned firms, which they're kind of locked out. And a lot of leaders, they go to the same folks who are swamped with work. And so, but they refuse to open up to well-qualified, well-experienced Black professionals and other minorities. And that's an issue that you have to work with your community leaders to fix that issue. It's not a problem about the availability of the talent, is that, you know, you have new people who are coming in this field or feel, and I get that all the time. I go to MBE conferences and other conferences. Many of these folks are out there with licensed, talented experience, but they're locked out and institutions will not even talk to them as far as getting the work done. So I just want to say that public, as a CPA for over 30 years and working with other MBs, that's a big problem in our state. And so I hope you consider that particular issue as you go forward. So any other comments from any members?
I just do want to add, Chairman, that's a really good point for us. And in fact, Ron has just done that recently. We went out and we identified at least one MBE that will likely be coming on board with us. That is prepared to respond to the RFP. So we'll make widest dissemination of that RFP and try to pull in some additional talent.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the town of Lanconan. Ms. Tyler Rayner, the town administrator.
Well, thank you. I am Tyler, the town administrator for the town of Lanconan. The reason that our audit has not been completed at this time is time. January of 23, the town was actively engaged in the FY22 audit when we had a major water crisis. I had to put all my time and effort into that. Since then, we have been shut down while we upgrade our plants and buy water from another town. That's still an ongoing issue. But I do not have any other staff. I handle the projects, the street department, the parks, all office day to day, and now running the water system and distribution system. I simply have not had the time to get the information to our auditors. You know, nowadays, auditors are doing audits remotely, so information needs scanned and emailed to them. For me, that would mean scanning and labeling and emailing over 2,000 pages and documents in the course of 1 year. You know, that's a full-time job in itself. And previously, auditors would come and view documents in person, but that's not the way it works anymore with staffing issues on auditor sides. I just haven't been able to do it with the water problem at this time. I am becoming less needed in the water problem as things get resolved. Where we stand currently is that now that I have been back working, I have been getting the draft of the financial statements ready, and we are getting close to getting them done. However, we were told as well that our auditing firm is no longer conducting audits, so we are looking for a new firm. Problem with that is there is only one other firm in all of Allegheny and Garrett County that does audits and single audits, and that one firm is not accepting new clients at this point. So we have reached out to Washington County, Frederick County for auditors. We haven't heard back from anyone yet. I am trying to move forward to get caught up on the audits, and I am confident once we get caught up, we will be able to do it in a timely manner moving forward.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Rayner. Any questions or comments from members? Chair Watson.
I would ask the same question of this town as to whether or not they would qualify for a waiver based on our limitations. Mr. Wells? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. Tom, do you have any
We
idea?
run a $1 million water company.
So, no.
That is correct, Delegate. They would not qualify.
Any other questions from members? So, Mr. Brenner, so you said you were the only employee for the town, and you do the treasury stuff, you do
I
the
have 3
water?
employees in the field, and I do have 1 administrative assistant who handles the water billing.
Yeah.
But yes, we have no other staff.
And so no one in the treasury area, controller, anything like that?
No, we have commissioners, but they're all full-time employees elsewhere. So it's just me in the office.
Yeah, so there are many trends going on now as far as in the finance fields and being a CPA. There's like part-time folks who work for firms, and I think one town previously went through a CPA firm and had a member of that firm serve as a treasurer, and you can really look at a possibility like that in order to make sure the finances are handled in a proper way. So I know you're very busy, and water is the most important thing for every community, having good water. So I understand, and I applaud you for really focusing on that. That being said, echo my comments to town of Hyattsville also. A lot of times I've seen my 30+ years of being a CPA, organizations stay within certain groups of folks looking for work. And, in Maryland especially, you have when the old school, basically, they're basically selling their firms, retiring, and you have a lot of other firms, MBEs throughout the state who with virtual work, with they travel and they really can get this work done. So I would recommend that you look beyond the small subset of firms you have in your county and in Washington County and to the entire really state of Maryland, and basically to get these firms who can do that work. Please reach out to me and I can basically share other thoughts with you offline if you so please. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Town of Rock Hall, Mr. Robert Riselli. Tell me hopefully if I pronounced that right.
Nobody ever pronounces it right. Thank you, Chairman Ellis. And it's just like Nestle's chocolate with an R. It's Wrestling.
Wrestling. Okay, Wrestling. Thank you so much. And I apologize for it.
No. My whole life, I've never had anybody say it right, so that's good. Yourself and your committee, I really thank him for letting us speak and explain why we've been behind over the last couple of years on our audits. We did dig a hole back when COVID started, and we'd lost quite a bit of time with our small staff. And then also our auditor company was affected by that. And then the turnover became very evident in the auditor for our 22 fiscal year. So what we did do is before they finished, which was just turned in, as Mr. Wells said, our 22 audit has been turned in, and we went out and solicited another auditing company with a RFP, and we awarded a company for our fiscal 23 through 25 fiscal year, and currently the 23 fiscal year audit will be done by the end of the year. And then at the beginning of the first quarter of next year, we will start, our auditor said they will start the 24 audit, and they will have it done very shortly. And then we should be able to get back very close to being on schedule and continuing. We did have some issues with the audit company with a lack of personnel here and a medical emergency for our clerk treasurer. So we lost almost 6 months in that process too. So we did put a plan together. We do think that is a very number one topic for the town of Rock Hall to get the audits done. fiscally. We've also hired an auditor, part-time auditor. No, I mean, I apologize, part-time accountant to do all of our bookkeeping for us so that they communicate with the auditors and the accountant so that we can get back on schedule and be doing the right things properly and the right procedures.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Any questions from members? Okay, well, thank you for your testimony. Looking forward to seeing the results of those audits.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. We'll move to the City of Seat Pleasant. Miss Betty Logan, Chief Financial Officer, CFO.
Good afternoon, Betty Logan, Chair Ellis and Chair Watson. The City of Seat Pleasant have made tremendous progress since we met last year. The city has now completed, as you know, the FY21 audit, as well as the 22 audit. So those audits were submitted to the Department of Legislative Services. Part of the problem that the city had suffered with due to severe staff turnover. The city made a lot of compensating measures to try to bring on consultants, but that became somewhat problematic because some of the consultants they used did not have the proper training, knowledge, and the skills, nor there were processes in place to ensure that routine account reconciliations and bank reconciliations were done. We have been working diligently to overcome that. We have developed a process in place to ensure that bank reconciliations and analysis are being done on a regular basis. We have completed, and I started with the city in May of 2023, and in the less than a year and a half, the city has completed 3 of the 4 years of overdue financial statements. The FY23 audit is in process now, and we hope to have that completed by the end of the year. And then we'll be moving forward to the FY24, and the goal is, once I get confirmation with our auditors, that hopefully that should be done by April of next year. So the city is really concerned about being in compliance with the state's requirement for filing audits and report on a timely basis. So we've been really working tremendously hard to do that. If I can address the comment that was made about the performance audit. The performance audit, the field work has been completed. We have received a revised draft report from the audit firm. And so the city's in the process of reviewing the findings and will provide its comments within the next couple of weeks. So hopefully the Department of Legislative Services should be receiving that report very soon. I'll stop and see whether or not you have any questions.
Thank you for your report. Members, any questions?
Comment. It sounds like you've made quite a lot of progress since you've begun there, and you don't know how much we appreciate that. And keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. Logan, for your hard work. And please, of course, reach out to us if we can be of any assistance as we help you take care of the constituents in your town.
Yes, we certainly will. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. We'll move to the town of Sudlerville. Keith Griffith, Mr. Griffith, Town Commissioner.
Hello, how are you folks today?
Good, thank you. And you?
Not too bad. Well, sadly, our situation is a little bit different than everyone else's, and thankfully they haven't had to deal with this. We do have the 21 and 22 fiscal year audits completed. Actually, the town clerk / manager is going to be signing the 22 tonight, and the attorney's got some paperwork to sign for that. But we faced an embezzlement that when our sheriff's department was called in by me for the things that I had found, our computer was completely locked out to where we were advised that nothing could be done with that computer. Any sort of tampering, sharing of information, anything could lead to obstruction charges for anyone involved. That clerk treasurer that was employed at the time was found guilty of the embezzlement. but it led to countless hours by myself. Actually, Mrs. Albers that worked with Barkley was assisting the town as well, which the town unfortunately went separate ways because she was a great asset for the town from her. And it was just a nonstop headache because payments were collected from people that paid with checks, and those funds were distributed and dispersed amongst numerous accounts that also paid with cash. So it was nearly impossible to sort that out, along with the fact that at that moment we were handcuffed to going back to old school methods of doing everything with pen and paper until we were able to get a new computer in the office set up, which we did purchase immediately, and move forward. In that time, the company that was performing the town's audits, Wybrick, Cronin, and Sora, ceased doing audits, so we had to do an RFP, which was a minimal in response. We did put it on the MML website as well. We finally were able to connect with Langford, Johnson, and Tall out of Seaford, Delaware, to begin doing our audit work, which has been great. They do have everything required for fiscal year 23 that they're going to try to work in, along with tax season things they have to work on, and then move forward from there. And hopefully by the first quarter of 2025, if not sooner, the audit for 2024 would be done. But it was almost the equivalent of reinventing the wheel when we lost all ability to do anything, along with a former town manager that left, and somehow mysteriously 2 different hard drives, well, shouldn't say hard drives, a hard drive was compromised and a laptop destroyed. So any records that we had there was lost as well. So we've kind of been with our backs against the wall. We now have a 3-commissioner panel, which should be 5. The interest level and even being on the commission is pretty well non-existent because the years of numbers that I've gone over and the frivolous, unnecessary spending is almost disturbing, to where no one wants to be involved. And I do want to mention one thing that I'm not real happy about. I don't appreciate it, but I did reach out to a member of the Joint Audit and Evaluation Committee expressing some of my concerns and inquiring if there was any kind of assistance for our municipality, which the exact response I received was, I don't know why you think it has anything to do with the state. Number one, that person should not even be seated on that committee carrying that mentality, nor should they be an elected official, because that is what their job is to help when people call them with needs. So not only the challenge that you presented to people to reach out to Latino organizations and Black organizations and everything to get any assets you can, you guys, as in whoever's on this committee, should maybe do better as well to assist these municipalities. I was appalled by that answer. All I told the person was, well, the newspaper's supposed to call me Wednesday. I have no problem sharing your response. Have a good day. And I hung up on the person. That to me is completely unacceptable. Should have never happened. But if there's not people there willing to help when help comes up and is needed, what are these smaller municipalities to do? Did I lose everyone all of a sudden? Hello? Hello?
Oh, we're just listening, sir. Thank you. Is that it for your testimony?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, sir. I mean, so we're pushing forward as fast and as hard as we can, but all of these municipalities, I agree with everything they've said. Our backs are against the wall in some situations, and it's great that you guys, have opened the eyes of, hey, there's other options. I don't know if there's a website that lists these organizations for others. Thankfully, the town of Sudlersville has someone, but if you guys could either get it maybe on the MML website or send out an email to everyone saying, hey, these people here are looking to be involved and do things, because I'd be 100% open as well, so that we don't face these things ever again.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
For
Could I
any
open up?
municipality.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Open up for any questions or comments from members? Okay, so no questions, comments from members. I just want to say that your comments about reaching out to members of another committee that's not this committee is understood. We're quite responsive of this committee. There was an agency which was near insolvency. We heard about it last year, and I personally put in a bill which passed, and it was referred to earlier, and several work group got the state involved and working on that issue. So, you know, this is my first time hearing of this issue with you, sir, and please reach out to me or other committee members and to work with you through some of these problems. So what's the size of your town? Quick question. What's the size of your town? What's the population? What's the budget like per year?
Right now we have probably 500 residents. If I was to go off of the most recent numbers, I'd say it's probably closer to 500 right now, and probably right at the threshold of, you know, because we do have our own water and sewer system, but basically we lose money every year on that because of the frivolous spending I mentioned.
Yeah.
That, you know, where now we did tie the town of Barclay, where Mrs. Albers, I mentioned a little bit ago, we tied them into our system. So that's going to help that some, but the town had plans for developments and open everything up. So I don't know if it's $250,000, you know, at the end, or if it's like, you know, because our budget for water and sewer is probably closer to 300,000, but we bring in substantially less than that between either people not paying bills and having to go through tax sale for it, or everything else that we pay for in loans. You know, we're up to, you know, 4 previous projects, we're operating at a deficit almost every year, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and one more question, then I'll go to Tom's side. So the individual that was convicted for embezzlement, were you able to get any insurance payment, any from reimbursement through insurances?
No, because we had no way to get an exact amount, because, and I did the best I could do. We had a detective involved that pretty well went off of my numbers, because, you know, we looked over things together, but no, there was no way to know, and the courts only found the person guilty of $6,000, just under $6,000, when the realistic numbers were probably over 100,000, but the numbers were so tampered with in the computer, there was no way to prove it.
So did you like bring on a forensic accountant to really look at stuff?
That's what I reached out to the audit committee for, but the town already was broke when I was elected 6 years ago, and it's not much better. We are actually paying every bill that we have now, which we weren't paying any of the major bills before, which also raised a red flag for me, wondering where the finances had been going for this town.
Okay, interesting. Okay, let's move to Tom. Nice.
Thank you, Senator Ellis. I can answer your question about whether Sudler's Sudler's will qualify for a waiver. For the available information that we've been sent, which is fiscal year 2017 through 2020, Sudlersville would qualify for a waiver. They have under $250,000 of general fund revenue. We generally don't consider what would be proprietary fund or enterprise fund revenue in our determination of whether a waiver would be granted or not. Loan accounting, I can also speak to loan accounting. Loan accounting specifically is approximately $50,000 over that $250,000 threshold. They're at about $300,000 over the last 5 or 6 year period.
Okay. So for the thank you for that. So for the non-CPA financial folks, enterprise funds, what's that? What is that?
An enterprise fund is basically a fund where someone pays for a service. So it could be water and sewer, it could be trash collection. There's a whole gambit of different things it could encompass.
So when they look at revenues, they would take out the water and sewer fees and that count those in revenues for the town, which will lower their threshold, which might qualify them for a waiver.
That's correct. The presentation of the financial statements has effectively business type activity and government funds. So the government funds would be the ones that we'd look at. We wouldn't look at business type activities or enterprise activities in determining the threshold.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Can I ask a question real quick? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, one second. Let's bring in Chair Watson, and then
Yes.
you can jump in.
Can you just explain to the committee again, when a town receives a waiver, what it means?
Yes, I can. Yes, ma'am. A waiver is a waiver of the audit requirement for a 3-year period. So as an example, if a town qualified and applied for requested with the Office of Legislative Audits for a waiver in fiscal year 24, and it was approved, they would then not have to turn in an audit report for fiscal 25, 26, and 27. The next scheduled due audit would be fiscal 28. They would still have to file what's called the UFR, or the Uniform Financial Report, with Mr. Trevor Owen at the Department of Legislative Services for those years. The waiver doesn't cover the UFR. It only covers the audit.
And the $250,000 threshold has been in place since when?
I cannot speak to that, Delegate Watson. I'm not sure. I've been doing the OLA's review of the local government article for the last 4 years, and it was in place when I started.
But the amount hasn't changed, is that right?
That is correct. That threshold amount has not changed in at least the last 4 years.
Does it make sense for it to be indexed?
I cannot speak for the Office of Legislative Audits to answer that question. Personally, it probably would make sense to index it
To inflation or something?
to inflation, to the consumer price index,
Okay, that's food for thought. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I think Mr. Griffith, you had another comment to make.
Yes. The gentleman that was saying about the waiver, what is his name, please? So I can just have this information.
I can answer that, Senator. In law, there's a waiver provision of the General Assembly.
No, your name, sir.
Oh, my name is Tom Sides.
Sir, just your name, yes, sir.
My name's Tom Sides. I'm with the Office of Legislative Audits.
Could you spell your last name, please?
SIDES.
DES. Okay, I thought that's what you said. So now, with that being said, can we apply for a waiver for the 2024 audit or no?
Well, you'd have to submit your past due audits, and then you could apply for a waiver of the current year's audit requirement.
So 24, 25, 26, or whatever, then we'd be doing 27 per se?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because it cost us like $25,000 a year to have an audit performed. So that's great news. As soon as they're done with 23, is it in my best interest to right now try to file for an extension for the 24 audit and then apply for the waiver, or what would you suggest for that, sir?
As auditors, we cannot make management decisions. So that's basically what you're asking for. But in my personal opinion, yes, once you get things sorted out, then you could request a extension for 24 from Mr. Trevor Owens at the Department of Legislative Services. And then once that's complete, and if you still qualified, you could request from our office, the Office of Legislative Audits, the waiver of the audit requirement.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate that, and I am so glad. And I'm so glad to know you guys are a completely separate committee that is willing to help people. I really, truly appreciate you guys for that.
And I'd also like to add, sir, if you have any questions about the OLA's review of the local government, you're more than welcome to contact our office. And we can speak in depth about any of the requirements.
Great. I appreciate your time. You have any other questions for me, folks?
Sure, yeah. So thank you so much, and we're here to help. And go as you get caught up on your waiver, Mr. Commissioner, and as you get caught up on your audits and you get the waiver, it's very important to make sure controls are in place so you don't have a repeat of prior problems, embezzlement, all that stuff. So to have someone with financial knowledge on the team to make sure things are done right, so you don't really see these problems again. Okay.
Yeah, and just so you got, when I was elected, here's what had occurred. This person was hired, and 2 days after they were hired, the town manager that was a town manager for 2 different towns never set foot in our town office again. But for some crazy reason, the town continued to pay her for 6 months. I was elected after all this, and I discovered it. So you can only imagine my shock and disbelief when I was like, "Oh gosh."
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, but that's no excuse. Everyone on this call, make sure, because it was the last person that anyone would have expected it from. When somebody is in a fiduciary position, you better make sure you can really, really, really trust that person.
Right. And like Reagan said, trust and verify. Okay. So thank you for your time. Appreciate you. And
thank
wish
you.
all the best. Reach out to us and as you complete the process. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And
Thank
our
you,
last,
folks. Yep, bye.
welcome. The last town, Princess Anne, Nye Milbourne, Finance Administrator.
Hello, my name is Nye Milburn. I am the
Hi,
finance
Ms.
administrator.
Milbourne.
Yes, Nye Milburn. For the town of Princess Anne. I have been in this position since shortly after Thanksgiving of last year. First, I want to give you some background. Though we are discussing the fiscal year 22 audit, I was not here during that time, but I have worked hand in hand with our accountant who was here during that time, and then the auditor who we just completed the 23 audit with. So I've got a lot of background information of why the disclaimer of opinion did happen and how we're going to go forward to make sure it doesn't continue to happen. So the former auditors, PKS, they had a lot of challenges when trying to get documentation and other information for the audit for fiscal year 22. A reason for that, which I see as a big problem now, high turnover. We lost both our finance director in August of 22 and then the town manager in May of 23. Due to that, PKS, they struggled to get the documentation that they needed to be able to do the audit. That also impacted the audit that we just completed for 23. The financial director that we had at that time, though they were here for the full of the 22 fiscal year, they were not adequate enough to make sure that things were being properly documented. They actually ended up being let go by the town in August of 22 due to that. A lot of the work that they did do ended up having to be fixed, and it took about 6 months between the accountant and the town staff to fix all the errors that were done during that time. Since then, and prior to that, in February of 21, we got an external accounting firm. We still use them currently. They do like our basic monthly bank reconciliations and things like that. They work in hand with me because I am the only person in the finance department. We don't have a director currently. So me and the accountant work hand in hand to make sure everything is going right financially. Since I have joined, a big goal of mine is to make sure the town is where it needs to be financially, whether that's record keeping, funds, grants, all that things. I've lived here my entire life. I know the ups and downs of the town, the history. I'm only focused on, as our motto says, moving forward. So we just want to make sure that everything is done correctly. I've worked hand in hand with the accountant, as I said, Susan, to make sure any misapplied payments, any additional penalties and things that we noticed on a lot of accounts during that time when the old finance director was here was done incorrectly. We've almost completely rectified all of that. We don't have any missing payments. We haven't had people coming in to complain about, payments that are missing. They said they came and made a payment. We don't have those issues. Going forward, we have submitted our audit for fiscal year 2023. We submitted that in early July. We had a slight hiccup with getting the fiscal year 24 audits started. We finally got that scheduled and on the books. We plan to have that completed by the extension due date of April 30th of next year. And then going forward, we're hoping that we don't have to continue to have, the disclaimer of opinion, and we will be back on track. That is the main goal of mine, to make sure that we are on track and we don't keep getting behind. And a way that I've done that, I have implemented online bill pay. People can go online and pay now. They don't have to worry about always having to come into the office or paying in person. I've also worked with our new planning and zoning coordinator to come up with a new fee schedule to make sure that the town isn't footing the bill for a lot of the expenses like they were doing before. And then I also have worked with our code enforcement officer to implement a new rental program to make sure that all rental establishments and homes within the town limits are up to code. They are documented. We have all the pertinent information, because that is something that kind of fell by the wayside once we didn't have any staff. The main thing is, during the fiscal year 22 audit period, which I believe it started in May of 23, actually, there was only one clerk left in the office. It wasn't the finance clerk, it was just an office clerk. So they were just trying to do their best to help the auditors get the information that they needed. And then they also ended up resigning, I want to say, about halfway into that process. So PKS really was left up to having to figure out a lot of the stuff on their own. But going forward, we are recommending, and we know for a fact, well, in my opinion, because I deal with finances, everything should be going well going forward. All of that information has been relayed. I've been in contact with Trevor, as well as our new town manager. He also has been in contact with Treasurer. We have requested the extension for this year, and we plan on being on time for next year. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Winborn. You said you were in contact with Trevor. Who's Trevor?
Trevor Owens with the Office of Legislative Audits. Because as I said, when I started, there wasn't really any staff in-house. So I had to reach out to the state departments and local and county agencies just to get contact information and basic information so that I knew, what to do going forward.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mr. Sides.
Yes, Senator. Trevor actually works for the Office of Policy Analysis within DLS.
Okay, all right, great. Yeah, thanks. Okay, any questions, comments from members?
Just a comment again, Ms. Milbourne. Sounds like you have made a lot of improvements in your town office, and just getting online bill paying is huge, I'm sure, for everyone in terms of efficiency. So just want to compliment you on the work you've done and encourage you to keep it up.
Thank you for that. And the online bill pay, initially we had planned on revamping the entire website, but as you know, that can be costly. So I found a company that at no cost to the town, online payments, and it's automatically deposited in our accounts. And then in the morning, I just do the account reconciliations myself.
Wow.
That's a lot of work.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Wells.
Yeah, I just want to mention, since the comment or your question, Chair Ellis, about disclaimer of opinions had come up, I just want to make the committee aware that since the FY23 report was filed late, we will look at that during our current year's review. So just so you don't have any surprises, we will be commenting upon that during our next audit, that for FY23, they had a disclaimer of opinion. But it sounds like Ms. Milbourne's making progress. So if the FY24 report is submitted timely enough for us to also comment on that, I presume there may not be a disclaimer of opinion for that year's audit. That's
Okay.
all.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you, Ms. Milbourne, and echo Chair Watson's comments. You've taken a lot of responsibilities on and doing a great job. So look forward to you clearing everything up. And we're here to help. Reach out to us if you reach any roadblocks, and you might have a suggestion or two. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. So I think this comes to the end of our hearing for this meeting. I just want to thank our committee analysts, Heather and Elizabeth, for all the tremendous work they do to kind of get us all together, have everyone prepared at the same place and same time. It's a mighty great job they are doing for Maryland. So thank you, ladies, for all you do. And my co-chair Watson, all the members, well, thank you so much for all your work. And I want to turn over to Chair Watson for final comments and closing us out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thanks to all of the members and staff that have been with us throughout these two meetings. We appreciate you, and we will continue to engage with the towns that need help, and we appreciate our own staff in assisting them. And thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
So we are adjourned. Have a great day and a great rest of the week, everyone.
Thank you.
Chairs.